Hi everyone, this is Jeremy, Solution Architect at Lyzr. Today I'd like to show you our cross-border payment optimization application that's available in our banking hub. This workflow works to process any type of transaction and suggest the user the right routing for that transaction to save the most money. First, there's a payment intake handler. This is integrated with different banking systems and banking portals. The user can also upload different documents in batch, and it's also incorporated with different market feeds like foreign exchange rates and SWIFT. The payment intake handler then passes off this transaction to the transaction optimizer. The transaction optimizer will analyze the details of that transaction and pass it on to the appropriate agent, either the currency forecasting engine agent to determine what to try to um, estimate what the exchange rate is going to be, the payment routing optimizer agent, which will look at different ways to process that payment, and the pre-screen compliance verification agent, which will look at the customer and ensure that all the different rules and regulations have been followed. Then all this information is then passed on to the AI scenario simulation agent, which will allow it to process all the incoming data and finalize the route that that transaction should take. There's a final compliance verification agent to make sure that all the different rules and regulations were completed and followed. And finally, the master transaction optimizer will execute that transaction. And there's also a lot of different outputs that can be generated from this, including different dashboards to provide things like cost benefit summaries, as well as transparency in terms of the routing decisions. There's auditing and trace logs that can be generated. There's the feedback loop to improve the optimization of the transaction in the future, and different reports for regulatory agencies as well as for internal use and integrations with data systems to actually push those transactions. Let's take a look at the application. So here we are in the dashboard. You can see at a glance all the key cost savings that were accomplished by using this app, including key things such as any risk alerts that the user should be aware of. There's historical trends in terms of cost savings, forecasts for different exchange rates, optimization scores by country, and a listing of recent transactions. For routing payments, the user just has to enter the transaction amount, the source and target currency, and also the destination country. And you can see here that the app will calculate the most optimized route to process that transaction the most quickest way and at the lowest cost. There's also different alternatives that the user can select from to process that transaction. For currency conversions, there's a separate tab that's focused on integrating the exchange rates and allowing the user to be able to run scenarios in terms of whether they want to conduct that transaction now or in the future. And there's also a different AI assisted advice in terms of when that transaction should be executed. For more complex scenarios, the user can come to this screen. They can enter more specific details about their transaction and run different simulations. The app will give them a detailed breakdown of the different options that they have for that transaction and allow them to make the best decision. For compliance, there's a separate tab that highlights all the different checks that and those in process that still need to be addressed, and also a history of the recent compliance checks and any regulatory updates that the user needs to be aware of. Of course, this application has robust login and security capabilities to make sure that the sensitive data is only seen by the right users. This app is just a high-level overview of what's possible in in our banking hub. Please reach out to us and book a demo if this use case is something that would be beneficial to you, and we can customize it to your needs. Thank you so much.